The Motel development, which includes a shopping centre, restaurant and underground car park, was planned for this block of land opposite Hilltop Plaza, now occupied by a tyre service and smash repair business. With the Planning and Environment Committee giving the proposal the thumbs down, it's almost certain Council will do the same. It's not the idea of a motel on the site that Council is objecting to, but the proposed height of the development. At 27 metres, Council says the motel would dominate the skyline and overshadow nearby properties. Although the height limit for Lake Macquarie is 9 metres, Council says it could reconsider the proposal if it were 20 metres high, 7 metres less than proposed. It also says the proposal would have to be accompanied by a comprehensive traffic study which alleviates congestion on Charlestown Road. Jodie McKay for NBN News.
They're twins, little boy and a little girl.
What are they exactly?
They're squirrel gliders. You'll have to get close, they're very little.
Oh, look.
Right, so you want to go back to where we were?
Locality.
So that's there.
And go.
Now?
Yep.
Well, I can select that and leave it there as long as you want.
Okay.
Cottee was given the pop star treatment at Cardiff today, mobbed by young fans and signing autographs.
She's wonderful, she was really good. She's just got a really vibrant aura, and it really makes you want to go out and do things, and really achieve things.
Exactly 2 years ago, as a 34-year-old, Kay finished an epic 50,000-kilometre trip. It took 189 days, conquering seas of up to 20 metres and winds of 160 kilometres an hour. The first woman to sail solo, unaided, around the world. Those chaotic scenes in Sydney Harbour have stamped Kay Cottee in Australian folklore. She's now using that position to teach young Australians about self-esteem. Kay has raised nearly $1 million for Life Education, a program fighting drug abuse. Now she's telling young people to aim for the stars.
There's really nothing stopping them if they put their mind to it, and hard work, as I said, preparation, planning and dedication.
Part of an Australian-wide school program, Kay spoke to 1,000 students from 7 Hunter schools. Kay says it's a program which should continue, pushing young Australians to realise their true potential.
I think a lot more people, besides myself, should get out there and talk to them and say, look, you don't have to be super achievers to achieve what you want to do. It just takes planning, preparation and dedication, and you can do anything.
It was announced in May of '87 that Canberra reserve grade coach Allan McMahon would be the Knights' inaugural coach and that his appointment was for 3 years. In its first crusade, the Blue and Red Army finished 14th with 5 wins and a draw, and last year McMahon took his charges to a brilliant 7th position with 9 wins. 1990 has been up and down, but the team has just started to hit its straps.
Against Canberra last weekend, you know, we've scored more tries and scored more points than any side have done to Canberra this year, and we took them right to the wire, and unfortunately we just missed out on bringing the 2 points home, and it was a very good performance by the fellas.
For the quiet achiever, he's glad that the speculation as to the coach for next year has been nipped in the bud.
Well, I think that probably preempted the decision from the board doing that, Mike, to take away that speculation, that innuendo. But then again, that's a part of rugby league. You know, that's just how it is. Sometimes there's speculation, players coming or going, and as well as coaches coming and going.
General Manager Mike Armstrong echoed the feelings of the board.
He's done a sterling job over the last 3 years, and when you look at the fact that the club, since its inception, really hasn't purchased a top-line Sydney first grader, I think you've got an excellent side that's a credit to him.
McMahon's extension is not the only re-signing the Knights have made in the past 24 hours. Development manager David Waite has had his contract extended by 3 years and will now be able to witness firsthand how his programs work out.
The board's seen fit now to extend that 3 years to another 3 years, and I'm sure the plans and the schemes that are in place for development will really start to bear fruit over the next 3 years. We've already achieved the first premiership with the upper echelon of our player, which is the SG ball players. But the growth at age 7, etc., is good this year, and I'm very, very pleased to be here for another 3 years.
Last night's crash was typical of the scene which confronts rescue services so often, especially when roads become rain slick. One car had slid onto the wrong side of the road and collided with another. The result in this case, a young woman trapped and in considerable pain from a broken leg. Fortunately, the 2 occupants of the small van involved escaped serious injury. But although her pain was eased by injections administered by paramedics, for 19-year-old Katrina Honour of Newcastle East, it was an agonising wait as the police rescue squad pried away the crushed metal of her car. All the while, the fire brigade stood ready as petrol dripped from a fractured fuel line. The whole operation a reminder of just how effective Newcastle's emergency services are. Today, Miss Honour is in hospital in a satisfactory condition.
Experienced defender Howard Tredinick was sent off in last week's match against Sydney Olympic, but was exonerated.
It ended up being a case of the wrong player being sent off, and he's been exonerated and he'll be playing on Saturday.
BHP Austral played Rockdale twice last year for a 2-1 win and a 0-0 draw, but this year Australs will field a much stronger lineup. And for the first time this season, new imports Robbie Ironside and Gary Phillips will be stepping out for Australs at home.
This will be the strongest team with the exception of the Yugoslav player. Ironside, Phillips, Newmov and Ralph Moore will all be playing.
So what has Coach Willie Gallagher been saying to the troops during the week?
Well, I think he's more concerned now about getting points on the board, particularly the next 2 weeks. Rockdale at home and Canberra away the following week are critical games to us. If we can pick those 2 points up or those 4 points up, I think we're in a very good position.
The Mitchell Line Bridge links the Hunter Valley No. 1 mine with the new Lease area south of the river. Coal and Allied predict the integrated operation will sustain production at 7 million tonnes a year, ensuring ongoing job security for the existing workforce.
With the declining reserves on the north side of the river, it became important to us to open up the reserves on the south side and develop the deposit. So it does mark the development of a major part of a new open-cut mine.
The $3.4 million structure is unique in that it can carry vehicle loads of up to 1,000 tonnes. The heavy-duty design will weather floods and allow huge mechanical shovels to ply across the bridge. Coal and Allied says economies of scale will make the Hunter Valley mine highly efficient, competitive and long-lasting. Meantime, another proposed mining development is bound to attract controversy. Singleton Shire Council is considering an application for an extension to the former Ravensworth and Ravensworth South leases. The project would involve partial closure of Leamington Road, a route regularly used by locals and workers at Hunter Valley No. 1. The joint venturers behind the scheme have proposed traffic to Jerry's Plains and beyond will have to take an alternative route which will add 8 kilometres to the journey. Leslie Robinson for NBN News.
Police were called to a serious domestic argument at a house in Brighton Avenue, Toronto this afternoon. After 1.5 hours, they emerged with a 48-year-old man who's been taken to Toronto Police Station for questioning. The man is understood to be the woman's husband. No charges have yet been laid.
Thinking. Michelle will be around. We'll be home by 1 o'clock. You will? One drink? Can I ask? It's only 22. Oh. And the guy's got one. Yeah. Big one on the foot. I don't want to stay with Warren.
Now we might be.
People in Dungog feel strongly about the deterioration of the rail system. They've seen services slashed from 3 to 1 long-haul trains each way per day. And now the axe is about to fall on the station itself. Within weeks, it's destined to be no more than an unattended platform, bringing an end to a personalised service locals say is second to none. With no other public transport options, locals say the rail line is their lifeline. But as services are eroded, they fear this far-flung outpost of the City Rail network will become isolated from the outside world.
There are no bus services. There's a very long journey for us to get to a plane at Williamtown. And so the rail is something that we're very much dependent on.
A determined group of Dungog locals travelled to Newcastle today to plead their case to a special government review committee headed by Director-General of the Transport Department, Dr Paul Grimwood. The review is to consider whether the now defunct North Coast Sleeper and motor rail services should be restored. But the concerns aired this morning went way beyond that brief.
I've really been hearing a community telling us what the impacts are on them and that they are asking us to consider them and do something about them. What I've told them in return is that these matters are outside the scope of the review, but we're very pleased to pass those on.
As this group lobby to revive what's left of their rail service, the review is hearing from others more concerned with return to sleeper services. Dr Grimswood has the unenviable task of weighing up those demands in what he says will inevitably be a trade-off.
At the end of the day, if there is to be a return of sleeper services, then that will be at a cost of some other service somewhere in the community of New South Wales, simply because there aren't enough funds to go all the way around.
There were brass and concert bands from the Hunter region and Sydney. Cahaiba Bowling Club and Blue Mountain City won the brass sections, while City of Newcastle and Muswellbrook Shire impressed adjudicators in the concert sections. The youngsters were there too. The City of Lake Macquarie Junior Band took to the stage this afternoon with a mini concert which had City Hall jumping.
There was no doubt that it was going to pour out Waratah way, and it let loose right on kick-off. Almost immediately the lights came on and we were in for a dour day. It really was a dog of an afternoon, and a hot meat pie didn't go astray. And right from the first touch it was obvious possession was going to be of paramount importance. 5 minutes into the match, and Darren Holst orchestrated a superb Kurri try with a grubber kick which found David Ladder steaming through, and he won the race to touchdown before smashing into the fence. Phil Williams added a penalty shortly after, and then another after Waratah were caught offside, and Kurri led 8-0. The Cheetahs applied some heavy defence, but couldn't crack the line in the first half. Williams nearly stretched Kurri's lead, but the referee ruled he bounced the ball over the line. David Ladder also gapped the Cheetahs' defence and looked set to score, but threw a horrible pass to Williams inside that was miles forward. But Waratah weren't done, and Allardyce found Higgins, who ripped a long pass out to Mark Hanlon. He beat the defence to the line, and there was a touch of scepticism as to whether he grounded the ball inside the area or not, but the try stood. However, with excellent play by Kurri, aided by a waterlogged playing surface, time ran out for Waratah, and Kurri were home 8-4.
These pictures were taken on Sunday afternoon at Spears Point, and according to Lake Macquarie Council, the brown silt in the water is a natural occurrence. The council says it is doing everything to prevent sediment from developments filling the lake, including the construction of 20 siltation traps. Do you believe they're working?
Yes, we know they are. We know that we've retrieved over 100 cubic metres of sediment from 3 traps alone in Crowders Bay and Terralba in the last 9-10 months.
But a local environmental group disagrees. It claims the traps are inadequate and allow too much silt to flow into the major waterway.
All that the siltation traps do is they screen out the heavy particles and let all the lighter stuff wash straight through. It stays in suspension for a long time, spreads throughout the lake and then settles.
The council does admit that when it rains, the traps overflow. With the region experiencing heavy rain over the last 3 years, the traps have exceeded their capacity. With siltation controls higher than any other council in the state, Lake Macquarie Council says it does not have the funds to improve them even further. The council says that all it can do is keep a watchful eye on developers to ensure they stay within the siltation control guidelines. But even then, the worst offenders cannot be controlled. This is a temporary sedimentation trap set up by the Public Works Department as part of the Westlake sewerage scheme. Council admits it's not happy with the situation, but there's little it can do.
It's inadequate for the size of this site, and it's been inadequately installed. If anyone could have a close look at that, they would see that in fact the water containing the sediment is washing straight underneath of that trap.
So is it doing the job it's put there for?
No. Or possibly yes. It looks like a sediment control, maybe that's all it was intended to do.
The occasional foot patrol by police is an increasingly familiar sight to the people of New South Wales, but Gosford's beat police will be different. These are full-time foot patrols appointed to honour a Greiner government election promise to put police permanently on the streets. 7 officers are ready to start, and another 7 will join them in a few months. Chief Inspector Joe Blanche says foot patrols provide a valuable link with the community.
These beat police will be supported, of course, by the mobile police, but policing vehicles don't get to know the local citizens and their habits and get information from those people. The police on beach, we hope, will gain intelligence, certainly form communication links with these people, and we will receive proper information back from them.
The beat police will work closely with neighbourhood watch programs, and police have invited residents of Niagara Park, North Gosford, Wyoming and Narara to a public meeting at Lisarow High School on Monday night to meet the new officers.
A man and a woman thought to be in their 20s casually strolled into the bank just before 3 this afternoon.
Two people entered the bank. One was armed with a small calibre rifle and the other was armed with a knife, and they've demanded money from the teller.
While bank officials are yet to calculate the exact amount, it's estimated thousands of dollars were grabbed in the hold-up. With the money in hand, the two bandits burst out through a back entrance of the bank, jumped into a small mustard-coloured car and escaped. It's believed the car was stolen. Charlestown detectives and uniformed police swarmed on the area but were unable to find any trace of the thieves. The male offender has been described as being in his late 20s, 167 centimetres tall, with short black hair, dark jeans and a t-shirt. The woman is in her mid-20s, 163 centimetres tall, has dark hair in a bun and was wearing dark sunglasses. It's the second robbery of the Warners Bay Westpac in the last 2 years. Tonight, police are continuing their investigations. Peter Ryan, NBN News.